Good afternoon, you filthy apes. Welcome to AMC and ADD, where we buy, we hold, and we screw the hedgies. Screw the hedgies! Here I have today with me Father. Father is here today to talk about something very interesting that he brought, that he's found, and some data that he wants to present to the community and show everybody concerning Wyckoff and point and figure. So with that, here's Father. How's it going, Father? How you doing, man?
Hi. Pretty good, Casey. I know we talk quite a bit, but yeah, it's first. Thanks for having me on, by the way.
Yeah,
And
not
I
a
hope there's
problem.
some people in a little bit that I'll have a question answer thing. So what I have up here, of course, is our chart. The way we see it, it's all marked up. You played a video during your live stream one time where I was showing it could be either accumulation or distribution, and it play this green line here. I drew this on March 16th in a video. It's dated March 16th, and so you can see it. So if it was accumulation, this is what it would look like, being it like perfectly. And how I wanted to show this was going to circle parts of it and then show Wyckoff schematic. Now, Richard Wyckoff invented or came up with this like over 100 years ago when what he was doing was he noticed a trend with institutional way institutions traded. And so what all he did was kind of analyzed how they traded and did everything. So his charts, and this one is the one that I'll be using to reference. Um, he he drew these based off of what he saw the price do. Like it would go up and make a peak. He was doing it all with the old ticker machines. So when he came up with this, and it still works 100 years later, Oxford, Princeton, Cambridge, all the major high institutions teach this as part of their how to trade class. So they don't do it as a historical class. It's how to currently trade. So so anyway, it's one of the things it's been around for 100 years. So the baby in the background is going to cry. Can't be father without a baby, right? Um, so
That's right.
this PS part is is preliminary supply, and if we come up to what we have on here, we have our preliminary supply. This is like before when we got done with distribution. It basically started to make this pattern here, right? So it's the start of the thing. This is like what would be called a buying climax, but we don't have to go into that. So if you look, the next part is, well, actually the next part's a climax and then an automatic reaction. And if we go back to the chart, we have the selling climax on our automatic reaction. And then what you do is next you have a show of strength going downwards. So we did that. Looks like it pushed really hard. Couldn't, it had a lot of resistance here. And then when it comes back up, it's an unnamed thing in Wyckoff, this part here, but it's where you draw your next resistance line. So you have these two resistance lines here. So it's support and resistance. This one came after hours, and I'll go over that in a second. But as you can see from the on the schematic, it shows you to do that after the show of strength, right? So after it comes down, it makes a strength test in phase B. So you're in this new phase, and we had that happen after hours here, and it was actually above. It's the only thing that's weird, and it has done that numerous times on AMC accumulations that I've watched. It will actually have the other resistance line higher than the sell climax. It's a really weird view. And if we were at a go after hours, you would see that it actually hit here. Don't have that ability right now, obviously. So that way that's right here. And then you can see the next move, we start to kind of come up a mountain, right? And we break the first line that's marked by the AR, automatic reaction, but we don't break over the unnamed thing here before we start to come back down, right? That's very important, very important. And so we came up, we broke the AR, but we did not break the unnamed thing. Next part, you come down like you're going to hit the bottom, kind of come back up, and then you go into a spring right here. Uh,
What's the
so
time? What's the time interval on this that we're looking at right now? I guess I must have missed that. Did I miss
it's
it?
a this is currently like it's about 3 months this year,
Okay.
and this works on all time intervals. So this is about 3 months. I know some of the patterns will look about the same thing, but this is about about 3 months.
Okay.
So we came down to the spring. I'm sure everybody remembers this, right? Uh, and it does a lot down here because it's testing, and you can see how it does a lot. It's not just a spring; it has a lot of tests. Um, and we really had that here. And then at this point on March 16th, I marked this up and I wrote here, which validation's at 17 because it can't be distribution anymore if we make it up to 17. So I had drawn this out. I changed this a little bit over the time because it seems sped up. But other than the top, I have left it alone for since March 16th. So this green line here has been there since March 16th for me. So you can imagine and it was tracking what I did have very, very close here. I mean, it was only like timing was a little off, right? So we had our show of strength, and that's major, right? That's a big deal. Show of strength. We had our show of strength. We already went through our preliminary supply. Oops, let's get that a little bit strange. I don't have a mark on here, but when I drew this, I drew like what it should look like, and I drew it there, but it happened down here. So the fact that it even showed it is pretty amazing to me. So what it's going through now, and it's actually doing it. You can see the daily thing that it's getting hot. It's getting lower highs and low and higher lows. And if you look at the schematic, that's all it basically says. It's a very rudimentary schematic he had. It's a more of a guide. This is the way it's supposed to look. But we've already did the two peaks above. We've had their show of strength and we've had our second peak, right?
Hmm.
And I'm going to go back to that. We've had that. This part came up. We came back down. We're currently here. The only thing we have to do is come up above about $21 and come back and retest it, and then we're off. And when we're off, I mean we're off to like the 30s, right? I am I'm really terrible at point and figure charts, which they've been around for 100 years too, and I want to go over that really fast too, really, really, really fast as I can. Uh, so this is a point figure chart for AMC. Okay, so X's anything over okay, I'll start from the beginning. Point and figure charts are what people used to put on a graph paper, and how they would do it is anything below $20, it went by 50-cent increments. Anything below $20 would be going 1950, 1850. But above 20, it's dollar increments, and then above 100, it's $2 increments. But we're not near 100. But so these have worked for 100 years too, and they still teach these in the same classes. And it's an unnamed guy, unknown guy. Well, the guy that wrote the book on it used to send it. Nobody could ever figure out who he was. But the main thing I wanted to show about this you're supposed to be able to do a count, and I'm not really into explaining that. But this shows these are better ways. Point and figure
Oh,
charts are better ways to.
I.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, no, I'm sorry. Keep going. I'm listening. I thought something happened. I thought to this stream, and it's fine. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay, sure, sure. So how it works is the X's, people would take a graph paper and a pencil because they used pencil back then, and anything over, if it made, they put an X in if it went up $1, and then if X's go up, zeros go down, right? Or O's go down.
Okay.
So they put an X in. If it went up another dollar, they put X in. But if it didn't go up the third X, because it has to make three, right, in order to make a column,
Hmm.
then they would erase it, right? So that's how this line here may add a bunch of ups and downs, but it only counted if it went past three. Okay, so on these, the one thing that I wanted to get at is, and just to cut time, the main thing about these is this red line here is a resistance line. Blues are support. These are a far better way of knowing resistance and support than using a typical charting pattern. You can use it to count how high the run's going to be, because we're going to run, because we've broken this resistance line and we've started a new upward trend line, I should say, trend lines. We've came over this trend line, so we're no longer in this trend down, and we're on the trend up,
Is that a pennant almost? It
according to
almost
the
looks like a
point.
pennant forming out of that
It would
trend.
be
Yeah.
if the reds always stay at they always stay at the same angle. This red here would always stay at the same angle. So we're above it. So we're above the pennant. If it was a pennant, we've already broken and we're resting above it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, we broke the trend, and this is the new trend line. If you see, the trends usually don't coincide together. Like one lets go while the other one picks up. So this one let go, and now we're picking up and we're starting to go up. Now, also on the point and figure, which I don't have it pulled up, um, a at 1850, I would be incorrect about us going up, and that would be a sign of a reversal. That's it would be like putting O's in here, and you'd have 4 in a row, and then that would be considered a reversal, point and figure wise. I don't believe it's going to happen. From a Wyckoff perspective, the fact that I could draw this out since March 16th and it follow it this close, and all we need to do tomorrow is push up above 21 somewhere. And I honestly believe it could happen pre-market, that we come up pre-market, and the beginning of the day we come down and touch the 21 and then run. Because I've seen AMC act that way before. So that's the one thing that could be possible. Also to catch people off guard, like, oh, they brought it up because they're gonna, and then they start the day and it looks like it's gonna crash, but it's actually just touching this resistance line, or yeah, resistance time one more time to act as support, and then pushes off. And that's my presentation. So yeah, if there's, I'm sure there's got to be some kind of questions, but
Yeah.
if you can't see it, I mean, they look, I mean, it's like, to me, it looks like a picture perfect Wyckoff schematic, but there's no denying like what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely looks like it to me too. There was somebody, Leonardo had a question here. He said, can you ask to compare the schematic to the last run up in June last year? Is that is there any kind of comparisons that is there any kind of
There,
similarities, or do you feel like this is kind of a different situation than what we had happen back then?
uh, well, yes and no. I mean, um, there was it was a very I don't know, it was more volatile then. So like, it doesn't look as picture perfect, but it does look like a accumulation, and it looks like they were in a hurry to do it, where this one took its time. So the June run, from what I could tell from it, because I wasn't a part of it, the play then, but from looking at it, from what I can, like being able to scale as much as I could, it's like they tried to like uh, push it down fast, collect a whole bunch at like $2 or $3, $4, somewhere around there, and then they pushed it up to like 14, and uh, kind of like did a similar to this, where they went up and then they came back down and then they took off, but they built a whole week pattern up and then a whole week pattern down and then they took off. So it's a little similar, but the the way it was, the volatility was at that time, uh, makes it different. It wasn't as, I mean, I would have noticed it back then, but like this one was tracking as both distribution and accumulation. And until I had that 17 verification, I wasn't sure. Like when I was on your show, I'm like, I'm tracking it both ways, but I don't know which one it is. And that's kind of annoying. And that's called the B phase. And it's just one of those things that in a B phase, when you're coming down, you can, you can It's just one of those things that can happen.
So I got it. The B
So
phase
you
is a
can't do that.
bitch.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I
Uh,
got it. I'm down.
yeah. F F the B phase. FB phase.
Yeah.
Yeah. FB phase. So yeah. And then a lot of people get caught up on B phases. Wyckofians, any of us will tell you if they're truly a Wyckofian, they do not play B phases. They don't play anything in a B phase. Now that could be on a big level like this or a daily. They because nobody can tell until it's got enough information and it's in the C phase of what it's going to do. And one of the things that's different about accumulation than distribution is it spends most of its time up higher on the schematic. See how most everything's like up high. And distribution, I'll have just more of a it'll stay down low and it'll have these like ups. And this kind of seem like this when you don't have after hours on. When you got after hours on, it looks like it's much more. It's strange how much they hid in after hours.
So the one thing, can
Is
you
there
go
any
back to
other
the
questions in
schematic?
there?
Yeah, I want to ask another question. Back to the schematic again, real quick, if you could.
Sure.
I'm just noticing that
And you can.
as far as the schematic, okay, so the ST in the spring test in phase B never actually made it down to the bottom support line, correct?
Are you? Oh, are you saying like did it break the support line? Yeah,
No,
yeah, it broke it.
it doesn't look like it ever actually made it down to, or maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. Not that one, but the one before where you've got the red circle before.
Oh, the street test. Yeah,
Did it just the
street
ST in
test made
phase
it.
B? Did it just miss? It didn't make it down far enough.
It didn't go. That's the weird thing about AMC when it does accumulation. It does this all the time. I don't know. And this was after hours where I've got it marked. And I don't know if they were planning on pushing it more after hours and couldn't do it, and that's why they uh, uh, gave up there, or if it's like I've seen several like on weekly or monthly accumulation thing. Like there was one that was uh, right here on the on the on the bigger scale. If I scaled this out, it's a perfect accumulation thing, but it did the same thing where the strength test didn't break the selling climax.
Also, Tim's got a question. He says,
I
"Will
don't.
this process still take place during the squeeze or just before regular marketing?" I'm not sure.
Uh, I don't know what
Yeah, I'm,
this process. This process gets us to. I hate to throw numbers out, but it's. I mean, from uh, this over here, from the number saying it's somewhere between 32 and 38. I don't know exactly where, but that's where I think that that's going to land. And then um, there's a $6 difference, right? So like once we're up in this thing, we won't have a reversal like it because like some people are speculating that we'll come up to the as high as 38, let's say, but then it's going to come all the way down and use 20 as a support and do this whole pattern again. I don't believe it's going to. So, but there's going to be a way to kind of follow that while it's happening. Uh, but I believe we're going to come up to somewhere, like I said, in 32 to 38, between 40 and 60, or yeah, 40 and 60, which is not completely on this chart. We're done. All the liquidity's gone. I'm not going over liquidity today, but all the liquidity tests are gone. If we pass through 20s with butter, 40s will going faster. So I kind of expect just a small, like kind of almost like what we had in June, where it'll come up to whatever number it's going to come up to. Do that for like a week, then come down like it's over with, and then do another accumulation for a week, and then push up to the high 60s and do another one up there.
that's awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on here and showing us this. This is really cool stuff.
Right, and it's not it's all my opinion based off of Wyckoff too. I just want to stress that to me, the only thing that would disprove it is that we drop below 1869 or 1850 according to the pardon. It's so funny because the point and figure says 1850 and my schematic says 1869. Uh, either one of those, it would be wrong, and then we're actually part of some larger picture that I can't see. But even Casey, you're really good at seeing, volume, and that volume there is really huge for us. We
It,
haven't had that big.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I could have. I mean, I had I was really close on the volume when it went up that one day, but the day after the big spike in volume, I actually was quite a bit off. I actually was the pre-market volume only looked like 10 to 30 million, and I think I ended up saying 15 to 35 or something like that. We ended up having like 70. So
In this area
there's some weird
too,
stuff going on.
if you didn't have the pre notion of like what this was going to do, um, it's doing the very similar pattern as another one that had tricked shorts into dumping a lot, and I believe that that's what's going to happen tomorrow. I could be wrong, but I think they're going to be born a lot, and they're going to get trapped, and part of they're going to help push us up by seeing that they made a mistake and start buying back, and they'll be buying with the FOMO and everybody else. Uh, I mean, I see this plain as day. Now, could it take till Tuesday to play out completely? It's possible. It could be slow about it, but I find Mondays to be pretty volatile. So that's why I'm thinking tomorrow is the big day. And yeah,
Okay.
I'm on
Well,
Twitter too. So if anybody had any follow up questions that couldn't make the live part, hit me up.
what's your Twitter handle or whatever? What do they call your Twitter name?
I think it's now that I uh, got a new one back. I think it's AMC underscore father, I believe.
Okay, AMC underscore father. You heard it, guys. If you have any questions for Father at all, further questions, we're going to go ahead and end the live stream. I just wanted to give Father a chance to be able to present his really cool information about what he's seeing for the future week coming ahead. Um, there's a lot of people
Yeah,
asking a lot of
I'm
questions in
excited.
here. Please direct these questions straight to Father. I guess I could read. I don't know if I want to keep the stream going because it's like I feel like this is like a quick presentation. I'm hesitant that more people won't watch it later if I make it too long. And so now the questions are starting to pour in here. I've got Alex asking.
I
She's
think when you're
saying,
telling people it's going to go up, it's going to.
yeah, yeah. There's a bunch of questions coming in. Let me see here. There was one specifically that I saw. I think it was from Alex. She said, "Do you think we'll have a 20% day coming?"
I think it'll be more. Uh, I think it's going to be all little J things on the way up. So just how we jumped up here, it's not going to be as big a rest. So uh, I'm thinking I'm thinking more. I think it's going to feel like the June run for people because we're going. I mean, when you go from 20 to 30, um, and let's say what a like 2 3 day. I mean, let's just hypothetically say it's 38. That's almost double. People are going to turn and start looking at it, right? It's going to be a big deal, right? So even if it's 32, that's way over 20%. Do I think it'll push 20% one day? I do. I think it's going to make it where it's going to be similar to the GME thing where it did 35%, I think, at one point before it pulls back a little and takes a rest. And then it may end the day at like 20%. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because it makes these like J patterns as it goes up, right? It makes
Mm.
like it'll go up and then it'll cool off and then it goes up and it cools off and just keeps making these J's all the way up.
How about
That's what
one
I call them, is J.
how about one last question? AMC Level 2 Live says, "Can you go over the distribution patterns for the top of MOASS and the back end peaks?" And I'm just gonna say, Ape or AMC Father's got Father has his own YouTube channel. Do you want to throw that one out there for people if they want to?
Uh, yeah, I don't know what it's. I think it's just. Yeah, I think it's just AMC Father. I don't know. I don't even know if I haven't linked to my Twitter account anymore. I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
I had
link
to new. Yeah, I had to do a new Twitter and a new YouTube, so that was. Yeah. Besides a lot of other things.
link it up and then maybe people can just follow it through your Twitter account. Um,
Sure.
so yeah.
And and just so you guys know, I watch Casey's stuff all day long. So I'm a long time watcher now. What has like been like three months, I think.
So if we have questions for you, we can just randomly just shout them out, and then hopefully you'll hear it, and then we can get answers in the chat column maybe. Or I can tweet them to you.
Sure.
I can just tweet them to you. I can tweet you, and then you can just come onto the chat and respond that way. So if anybody has questions, I guess I can just send him a DM and Twitter, and then he can respond through our chat during the live shows throughout the day.
Sure. Yeah. And if it's not making headway tomorrow, the big thing to be watching out for tomorrow would be like go 21 and then come back down and test 21. It doesn't even have to go that high above it. Not even a whole dollar, just 50 cents, and come back and
Cool, man.
retest it, and then take off. Or watch out for the 1869. Does that mean? Well, I mean, not that if you're buying and holding, it doesn't really matter anyway. But just so you're not caught off guard on, oh my god, it actually took off today, and I can't believe that I didn't know it was today. That's why I got so excited, and I was like, please, Casey, let me do a presentation so I can explain why this is going to go off, because part of history, I want to be able to say it was predictable, that people could. On my Twitter, I was saying down here, people were going to wish they would have got in at 17 and said, oh my god, I could have got in at 17. That's the way I saw it. And because people were asking me like, how much lower are we going to go? And I'm like, we're done. We hit 17. Better get them now. Get them where they're at.
Man, I'll tell you what, they do drive it back down. I'm ready. I'm locked and loaded. I want some more at a lower price if they're going to give it to us. But if they're not, I might have to FOMO in with everybody else on the way up.
I feel like it's going to be yeah. I think it's a bull. I'm very convinced. There's no way that I could have drew this pattern since March 16th, and I basically all I did was drew this based off of the time scale that I could see it on. So uh, yeah, and then this line here takes off really far. Now, if I was good at pointing figures, which I wish I was, it can actually somebody if they actually do that. So I'm more Wyckoff than the point figure. The point figure you can actually use that to do a count, and it will give you the exact number that we will run to. It's insane. There's people that only do point figure charts, and they just make a killing, and they're like the super wealthy people that you're like, what? That doesn't even look like you don't even use no, I don't use any indicators myself personally. I've tried to use some fibs and stuff, but I don't even use any indicators. But a lot of people like to follow Bollinger Bands, and when it's more technical for me, I'm more pattern driven. When I see a pattern forming, that's where I draw my I can draw my conclusions. I can say, okay, this is forming an institutional accumulation pattern, and
Hmm.
it's meant to throw off retail. Yeah,
It's
and
awesome, man.
it's worked for 100 years. And they make program computers to do it for them now. That's it. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Hey,
Nothing changes.
it really doesn't. It just gets faster.
Faster, very fast.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how they're. Yeah. So yeah, hook me up on Twitter. I'll answer any questions during your live stream. I may just watch it all day. I was going to have mine running with no commentary, but I can watch and comment in your live stream. That would
Cool,
be
man.
fine.
Well,
I'd be
again,
watching anyway. So
thank you for coming in here and presenting that to everybody so they could see that. I think that's really cool looking, and I'm glad that you came on to show this to us. I'm also glad that y'all like the fact that I'm working on the weekend. So this is I said this was going to be a working weekend for me, and I knew it was going to be a long one. So and I still actually, believe it or not, have one more video that I'll be putting out later tonight. So I got
and
to complete my obligations on the things that I said I was going to do. So but Father, you were one of them, and I
great.
appreciate you coming in here and helping me to complete the obligations I had for the week.
Thank you so much. I can't wait till tomorrow. It's going to make history together.
That sounds good, man. Let's
What
make
do you,
history.
how do you say it with the hedgies? Stick it to the hedgies?
Say, screw the hedgies.
Screw
Screw them.
the hedgies. That's it. Screw the hedgies.
You
They're
all
going
have
down.
you all have don't have a good weekend. Have a great weekend. See you guys tomorrow.